Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from the Amberstone Watch in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, it's the Rolling Bad Podcast. This is episode 110. Oh my God. It is June 27th, and I'm your host, Lord Reverend Bill. Oh my God, it's been 37 years, Castello. And with me today, all the way in from the realm of Gur is...
Josh, I feel like an understrength unit alt.
How appropriate, how thematic.
We might be talking a little bit about 3.0 today, Bill.
Should we?
I think we should at least give a stab at it.
Okay, all right. I guess it's kind of news in the AoS community, so we should cover it.
Yeah.
All right.
At least touch it just a little bit.
So my plan to turn this into a BattleTech podcast is on hold.
I know you've been trying hard, Bill.
I know. I posted some more pictures on the Facebook page of my mechs. I know what's wrong, people. I know what's wrong. All right. I needed a palate cleanser. I'm back now. I'll be building. I want to build Lord Croak, but anyway, we'll get into that here. In the intro, 37 years. Today actually is my 37th anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Bill.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
37 years.
37. Pam made the snide comment about, are you going to say it on your show? Because we had to really maneuver our schedule around. Originally, we were going to celebrate today, but we did that yesterday. And she's like, you realize that we've been married longer than some of your listeners have been alive. And I'm like, yeah, way to make me feel young. Thanks. Oh, but that is so cool. I think I'm going to title this The Show We Probably Shouldn't Do. Okay? Because, you alluded to it. Yeah, hell, you flat out said it. We're going to cover everything we know about AoS 3.0 in the week before it actually drops. So this is kind of going to be like a 20,000 foot view. We're going to give you what we think is going to happen, what we think the effects are. We're not going to go over what rules changes. Tens of thousands of YouTube channels and podcasts have already covered the rules changes. And that's silly to just waste your time on that. We're just going to give you some opinions on where we think it's going to head and where it's going to take us.
Definitely.
On that note, we're going to New Orleans, Josh.
We are.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm totally stoked. I've never been in New Orleans before and get to go down there and, throw down, have some fun at the GT.
Yeah, it's, I hate playing competitive AoS. And at the same time, I am so looking forward to this, to just go down there with friends from the store, the community, and kind of just see how things play in AoS 3.0.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, run into some people that we know and listeners and what have you, and just have a great time and throw dice with people that are of a like mind, No,
I'm excited for it too. And, it's going to be my first official event outside of New Mexico that I've gone to. I hold no hope for doing anything grand while I'm there, just going down there and having the most fun I could possibly do.
I'm calling it right now. You are 4-1 and either playing top tables or there's a lot of 4-1 players, but I'm calling it right now. You're going to be in the mix. I know you.
Can't wait to disappoint you, Bill.
I don't buy it.
So it seems like, you're going to need a Seraphon list for this, aren't you?
Oh, God, you had to go there. All right, so here's the thing. You know how much I don't like Kragnos, right?
Yeah.
I consider him to be kind of a flaming dumpster fire we didn't need that. So I'm really thinking of building a Kragnos and taking a BCR list or, a mixed BCR, an Ogre Maw Tribes list.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many reasons around that. Is the list I'm envisioning has very few models, so it's easy to travel with.
Fair.
And it's also, monsters are going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
In this edition. And I'm not going there to, win. I have no dreams of going better than maybe one win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play well enough but this is a more even playing field. There's not going to be a lot of people with tons of experience, but it is in October. So there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of games under their belt.
No doubt there will be. And like once I get my army fully, built up and everything, even if it's not fully painted, I'm going to be doing a ton of games.
Yeah.
Just trying to get back into the swing of things because it's been about a year since I fully played a game of AoS. Not that I haven't done like little simulations on my own, but I haven't actually gone up against someone else other than when my wife entertains me for just a little bit and rolls some dice for me.
Yeah.
She's like, can we be done now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning on going with Skaven, and I'll get into that a little bit more later on.
Yeah.
They caught my eye. I've been talking about it for weeks. Once we started to see all the stuff come out on the internet, saw the core rules, they have something, and I'm going to try and push that to its limits.
I think they're going to be one of the big winners. I think a lot of these, I think you're going to see a shakeup in the meta because of these new rules.
Oh yeah.
And, we'll cover that a little bit later here, but I think some things that are really amazing now are going to fall by the wayside, and things that there's going to be combos out there that people haven't thought of and unlocked. And I agree with you. I think Skaven is one of those that are going to come out of this and say, yeah, we got game here now. And there's a lot of factors that roll into that, and we will get into most of those. I'm flirting between the Seraphon and the Ogres just because I love them both. And I don't want to take Osiarch Bone Reapers because while the mechanics in the new system don't favor them, in fact, maybe put them on a back foot, I just don't have enough ready to go, and I don't want to push it.
Yeah, they do generally require quite a few models, particularly when you have to stack up all your Mortek Guard, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you can take a all cavalry list and do well. You can have a lot of fun, though, with a mainly, cavalry list. But.
Yeah, and my list is basically cavalry. It's I worked with Hobby Bear over there at Cubic Shenanigans, and he sent me a good cavalry list, and that's what I've been kind of building off of. And we shall see what it. Honestly, right now, I have this hankering for the ogres, and it just the monster stuff is so tempting. But we'll get into that when we do the thing. Another thing for our intro, thank you to everyone that's donated to the charity. We're about halfway to our goal. We are going to end the charity after we record the next official show. And I'm saying official show because we may get together next weekend after Dominion drops and we have rule books in our hand. And if we got something incredibly wrong today, or if we feel like there's another hot take we should get out there, we may record like a 110A show. The next show 2 weeks from now, we'll probably end the raffle, and then we'll announce the winner on the show after that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And we're looking for all those day one FAQs, which is why, the next show will likely be like an addendum. Because that could shake up everything. They could do something absurd like, oh yeah, Skaven can't benefit from like Unleash Hell, right?
Yeah.
They could do something absurd like that.
Yeah.
And that just changes everything.
Or they could come out and say Osiarch Bone Reapers lose their immune to battle shock, but also get to use command points in addition to RDPs. I know they know that there is stuff that's going to be bent out there in this rule set, and I'm sure that they have all those PDFs ready to hit publish on July, 2nd?
July 3rd.
3rd. Yeah, I keep thinking the 4th is Monday, but that's the day off. Yeah, we like I said, we may have to get together and just, hey, you know what they did to Army X? So I think that's about it for the intro, right?
I think so. I think we can move on to New Dawn, which this might be the first week it's actually kind of light.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, GW. We appreciate that. Yeah, so New Dawn.
Yeah, so Dominion's still up.
That, to me, is, number one, crazy. Number two, I'm so nervous about that.
Why?
Here was my fear, and I'm going to go at this from the Indomitus point of view and the Curse City kind of point of view. You have I imagine you have two factions at GW. You have the designers, makers, retailers who want to put as much product as they possibly can out there for the public to purchase. Then you have the bean counters who are looking at how much is it going to cost to produce, how much is it going to cost to ship, warehouse, store, all of this. And it seems to me that the bean counter faction has won all the previous arguments. We're going to make a limited number of these things, and if everything goes nuts, we'll figure out a way to get more. But let's not overrun our production schedules. Let's not get crazy. No, we're not going to make 1 million boxes of Indomitus. We're going to make 100,000, and when those sell out, we'll look at what to do. And so they've always been winning.
Mm-hmm.
Now, finally, the marketing and design and all the other group has finally convinced everyone and said, listen, look what happened with Dominion, Curse City. We need to make a crap ton Indomitus. We need to make a crap ton of Dominion boxes. So the bean counters knuckled under and said, yeah, okay, fine. We'll build 250,000 of these. And I'm pulling numbers out of my butt. And the retailers were happy. And so they installed this queue system and they managed the release incredibly well. There's no one I know of that wanted a Dominion box that didn't get it. Yet here we are a week later. And yesterday when I was at the store, I pre-ordered another Dominion box because it was still available. And now the bean counters at GW are going to be looking back and going, and we still have 30,000 of these freaking boxes sitting in a warehouse. Now what the hell are we going to do? And how do we give them away? The initial run is over. We're going to sell these things in 1s and 2s from now on, not hundreds and hundreds. Mm-hmm. So now you've just saddled us with all this warehouse cost. You've saddled us with all this shipping cost. Never again will we listen to marketing. Mm-hmm. And so the next big limited, kind of box release, the bean counters are going to be back in charge, and we're going to have this issue of not everybody gets one because they just simply didn't make enough. Anyway, that's my synopsis.
I mean, as far as it goes, the sprues themselves, I'm certain that those are going to be reusable no matter what, right? They're more than likely going to go into the varying, start collecting boxes. They have their big one, their little middle one, their smaller ones. I think all that stuff can be parted out, right?
Yep.
And then there's ways for them to sell out the stuff that's contained in the Dominion box itself. They could definitely recover some costs that way. I think it was just a rumor I heard they made like 4 times as many Dominion as they did Indomitus, which is a substantial number.
And especially when you consider that the AoS side of the house, while very strong portion of their profitability, is not nearly the weight of the 40K crowd. I think 35% of sales is AoS.
But also, too, what we're seeing, in terms of how the rules are moving in AoS 3 is that they are not too dissimilar from 40K at this point. And so what you get is a rule set that 40K players who otherwise may have been hesitant to transition over, they've been playing in 9th, right? Now they're able to come into AoS 3.0 and be like, oh, this isn't terribly different, so I don't need to totally rethink how I play a game. Yep. And then it's a strong way to intro into it. And we'll talk about a little bit later too, just in terms of how the points changes, how the unit size changes, and all things like that. I at least think are very helpful to bring new people into it.
So yeah, I hope this isn't a bad thing. I hope, but I know right now today there is somebody in the earned value or, just flat out cost accounting department at GW going, I told you so. I flippin' told you so. So I just hope that doesn't affect anything. But at least, is it still available for order today? I thought it was.
I haven't checked today.
I have not either. But I know yesterday I was just buying some of the some other things. I clicked on Dominion and it was like add to cart along with the cool objective markers.
Yep.
So I'm like, yeah, hook me up. I'll buy another box. You always need more Cruel Boys. And I'll sell the Stormcast. No. I'll burn them in the backyard. So yeah, up for pre-order yesterday was some Blood Bowl teams.
Yeah. So it's looks like it's made to order. It's the old school elf team and the vampire team.
Yes.
And they definitely look like they have not done anything for the sculpt. So it's truly like a made to order in order to get those old teams if you really wanted them.
And I find that shocking that they are putting out those older. I have no disagreement with it whatsoever. With their emphasis on renewing all these different lines, honestly, that just really feels like filler.
You know, it probably has to be at this point. I mean, because like this 2 weeks is to be Dominion.
Yeah.
This is the pre-order for 2 weeks. They're put out some other stuff, you know, like you got Gaunts, you got those things to sort of kind of slake the thirst of the 40K players for a little bit. But this is the era of Dominion. It's the transition to 3.0. It's
a major release.
It is. They do not want to distract from that.
No. And, you know, for the 40K crowd and all that stuff, just remember what happened when Indominus came out. Yeah. We were over there in the AoS world going, can we have just, you know, something? And, you know, we got nothing. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Because they have to, in the next couple of months, they have to put out some getting started boxes. They have to put out the 3 different types of, you know, getting or game starter boxes, the recruit edition, all of those things to get players into it at the under $200 price point. You know, mom and daddy aren't going to go and pop $200 for little Johnny to get into this game. But when they come out with that $80 set, yeah, that's maybe a little more doable.
Yeah.
So, and those things are coming up, and I'm hoping to hell there is just like Crusade, I'm hoping there's a Path to Glory book that comes out, you know, that gives you a little more flesh, a little more meat on the bones. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's, I think the next couple of months are AoS, period. End of story, 3.0. Learn it, live it, love it.
Yeah, I could see, at least in 40K, I know that they're waiting on the Orc box to come out, the one that's got the Snaggas. And I know a lot of people playing AoS want that box to come out as well. You know, if you're an Iron Jaws player, right? So I could see that coming out in July.
Yep.
Right. Certainly, it's going to be the era of Dominion for a bit. There's still going to be some things to come out.
Oh yeah, there has to be a splash release in there for 40K.
Of course.
You don't cut off your nose to spite your face.
No.
Also, I wanted to cover that what came out this week. Last week was Gaunt's Ghost. I put that in the notes by accident. But the Vincula Insurgency collector set and the Sabbat Worlds collector set came out. And, oh, my God. Talk about going all in. I mean, those are some really cool collector's editions. They are just, man, if you like Gaunt, yeah, I would say get those things, but now you have to eBay them. But they are so freaking cool.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing. One thing I will say, the Sabbat Worlds collector's edition, it's in a really nice, you know, you can see that blue slipcase up there.
Yep.
But the book itself is actually just the same as the old Sabbat Worlds Crusade book. They just added some markers and some toys to it. So if you already have that old Sabbat Worlds blue book, think twice, because you're not really getting a whole lot for the money if you're going to eBay it or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And crazily enough, with Dominion, you have also the General's Handbook is coming up.
Yep.
The Combat Gauge, the Objective Markers for AoS 3.0, the Path to Glory Notebook. What else is coming out? I think that's about it besides Dominion, right?
The Dominion books as well. I think online you can still actually get the special covers for it.
Yes.
So those are still out there.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's just this is the 2 weeks of Dominion. So be dominated, people. Although, you know, no matter how you look at things, if you need to do things on the less expensive side, just grab the General's Handbook.
Yep.
Because the printed rules are in there. You know, it doesn't have the narrative, all the other stuff, but the scenarios, the rules, everything you're going to need is in that, as well as the points. You know, the points are in a separate little book. That is a super awesome value. If you can't throw $200 at Dominion right now, get the GHB because it's going to have everything you need to get into 3.0.
Definitely. It doesn't have the narrative stuff.
Right.
It's all match play.
Yep.
So you will need to get the core rule book to get the narrative stuff if you're a Path to Glory player or an open play player. Yeah. Like that is going to have, the GHB will have just the match play stuff.
Right.
And I think the endless spells too, right? The changes to the endless spells are in there, I think.
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. And I looked at it, but I'd be going from memory, and I don't want to do that. But I'm pretty sure there are. I think there's a tab. One of the tabs is match play, and then I think the next tab after that is Well, yeah, it's where they changed all the endless spells. Duh, the General's Handbook. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be in there.
Yeah.
So, and we will get to those changes because, wow. So that's it for New Dawn.
Yeah. That was a quick one.
There's a big $200 box set out there. Buy it. It's heavy. It's Anders got a box set a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because he's a store guy. He has to get that stuff built and painted and ready for the opening day. So that box was heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weighty.
Well, it comes with 60 models, the core rule book. It comes with all the extra paper in there, the Amberstone watch story. Yep. It's no doubt it's going to be heavy.
Yeah.
I actually think that's a great segue into creation, don't you think, Bill?
I do.
Ask Warrior, build me an army worthy of Mordor.
Amazing how that worked in.
I know, right? Especially considering how the Cruel Boys look a little bit like some Lord of the Rings orcs, right?
Oh, my God.
So part of the thing that Anders has is hobby champions, right? And he's able to recruit folks in the community who don't work for GW,
right,
to help out with the store army. This is something that we did back when Soul Wars dropped.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And so we were able to actually put the models together. We were able to paint it according to the rubric.
Yep.
And, so we had a chance to essentially preview it.
Yeah.
All the work's done in the store, right? Which is great because as other people are coming in, they actually get to see the new stuff, right? It builds the hype. My part of it, since I'm one of the long-standing hobby champions, I jumped in and I built pretty much half the box.
Nice.
I built 25 models out of that box for the store army. And then other folks are coming in and help painting them, right?
Yep.
Other models have been built too, of course, right? But I built the 10 Hobgrot Slittas, is that what they are?
Yeah.
The Gut Rippas are the Cruel Boys.
Man.
And then I built 5 of the Vindictors, right? So 25 total models.
Nice.
I got to say the kits are pretty nice. It's weird because it doesn't seem like they should fit together like they do. And then you put them together, you're like, oh, wow, that just fits.
Their new design, their new engineering for how these kits go together. It started with the Underworlds, Warhammer Underworlds kits, where a couple of them, you actually have to thread a piece of this through the other piece of plastic. And then when it snaps together, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Not only is there no joint line whatsoever, but it also completely, it just makes the whole thing solid.
Yep.
Their engineering on this stuff is over the top.
It is. It really is.
They're so heads and tails above everyone else in the miniatures world. And, you mentioned the hobby champion. I got off easy. I'm doing terrain. I'm like, this is going to be so much easier because the terrain boxes haven't come out yet.
No.
And so I'm sitting back watching going, nice. Yeah. Get to work.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so, and when you think about it from a marketing standpoint, it's a beautiful idea.
Oh yeah.
Because as the little hobby champions, we're like, yeah, I get to build this stuff for the store and get to see the kit and play with it before it ever hits even the ordering stage, I think. Then at the same time, like you said, people get to see it in work, but it's also not taking the one-man store guy and ruining his time.
Yes.
Where he should actually be interacting with customers.
Exactly.
And sucking new people into the game and basically being a plastic pusher. So, yeah, it just works on every level.
Now he gets to push the plastic by saying, hey, those are my hobby champions. And they help me out. This is the new box set that's coming out. Look how cool these models are. And then what are people doing? Oh, I guess I got to go pre-order Dominion. At the back.
Exactly. I mean, it's just, it works on so many levels. I love it. So on a more personal level, I finally finished doing all those battle mechs. I know. You can give me crap as much as you want. I don't care. I had fun. So, and I took a picture of them and put it up on the Facebook page. And needless to say, I didn't notice until I was actually tossing the picture online. The guy that's in the very front of one of the groups, I forgot to paint his cockpit. And I'm like, yay, what an idiot. Oh, well, no biggie.
That's funny, too, because everyone has been talking about how you paint the glass on the
Yeah.
cockpits. Like people are saying, Bill, can you give me your technique? How did you do that? And the one guy,
Right up front.
right?
Oh, God. Yeah, well, I can't say. One thing I will say is I've been sicker than a dog for like a week. I actually took 3 days off this week because I just couldn't move. I was so bad. I'm vaccinated, and I went and got a COVID test because I was like, this is nuts. I feel so bad. But it's just a summer cold, so hate it. But I am going to, depending on what I end up with, being either Seraphon to New Orleans or Ogres, I want to build Croak. No matter what, I want to build Croak.
Oh, yeah.
And I really want to build Krakenose. I mean, oh my God, that model is so gorgeous. I hate them for making these awesome models.
I started to assemble Croak when I was flirting with maybe doing Seraphon until I really got pinned down by the horned rat. And his kit is amazing. Probably got through like 3 or 4 stages on the chair. Haven't done too much. I've looked at Kragnose's kit. He looks like he fits together really well, sub-assembles really well. It's just lovely. It's just lovely.
My biggest fear with Croak is how he goes together. I've looked over the instructions and all, and seeing I want to paint the stone rings that are around him. I would love to paint those separately before it all goes together, but it doesn't look like you can do that.
No, they're integrated into numerous parts of the chair.
Yeah, so, oh well, I'll just have to, just gets a little bit harder, but not that much. That's about it. I do want to throw a shout out. Well, actually, let's cover what you've been doing first.
Like I said, I'm going in on Skaven, and I'm going all in.
It would appear that way.
Yeah. So I've built and primed 40 clan rats. I've almost completed painting 20 of them. I just need to complete 4 more shields, throw some base on them. I had Skaven from a while back, and I was mostly like invested in Scryer. Yeah. And I'm not sure Scryer is really the way to go right now.
Right.
I think Skaven Tide is what you should do. And, back then I was putting together the Gnawholes, right?
Yeah.
I put together one of them, and I hated it. Like the swirly bit and the stone, cool. But like putting together the wooden rafters on that thing was needlessly complicated.
Yes.
Right? And
Spirit Host 2.0.
God. It was just like you get these 4 beams and they glue together in this way, and then you have to attach another beam that's only held on by glue. But then eventually you're going to get a little chain that connects them. So I built a second Gnawhole yesterday. It didn't feel as bad this time, mainly because I was just like hyper focused on, do what needs to be done.
I hear you.
I put together, sub-assembled my Verminlord Warp Seer, and my lovely wife is going to help me paint that.
Nice.
Got the Plague Priest put together. My wife wanted to paint that. She took the model from me.
Oh, good.
She has a proclivity for painting anything Nurgle. And so she's like, nope, it just makes sense to me. I love these things.
Good.
I put together the Screaming Bell, sub-assembled with the Grey Seer, dusted off 3 of my Storm Fiends that I hadn't seen play in a while. Think I might toy with 3 or 6. I'm gonna have to do so much playtesting to confirm that. I ordered Thanquol on Bone Ripper, 2 boxes of the Rat Ogres and Rats, and got another Claw Lord because the last Claw Lord I had I converted to an Arch Warlock.
Oh.
I've got the Bombardier and Grey Seer on foot, primed and ready to go for playtesting. Doomwheel completely painted.
Nice.
That was painted about 2 years ago. Got my Warp Lightning Cannon in the works as well. So, like, I've been going ham.
Yeah, just a little bit. Good Lord. Wow. Holy hand grenades. Speaking of bombardiers. Sorry. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, like, when we get into it, we'll talk about, I think Skaven are one of the big winners. Mm-hmm. So, or could potentially be. We shall see.
Day 1 fact pending, right?
Well, and everything works in theory, Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the table where it tends to fall apart.
Yeah.
And so, you may end up just seeing some big hole somewhere that, oops, I didn't see that truck driving through.
Yep.
So, yeah, I have found that with several armies I put on the table and didn't quite realize the interactions made it to where they weren't nearly as amazing as I thought they were. Also, in creation, I want to hit one product that I thought was really cool, and then one little hobby tip. But the Army Painter has come out with these terrain primers. And the big thing on these is they're designed for use on foam. So they're not a solvent-based propellant.
Mm-hmm.
They are a acrylic-based or a water-based propellant. So you can use them on stuff like the blue foam, the green foam, the white styrofoam, any kind of foam you got. You can use these sprays, and they're pricey, but honestly, they're pretty damn good. I was really, really impressed with how they work. If you have that issue where you need to do a lot of foam terrain and you don't feel like having to brush the whole thing with Mod Podge before you prime it so that it doesn't look like a burnt wasteland, look at those Army Painter sprays. They're a little pricey. They're about the same as a GW can, but they're about half the size. The flip side of that is they have about the same amount of coverage because of the mix of the way it uses the propellant. You get about the same amount of coverage. But they are pricey, so sometimes the Mod Podge is cheaper. Something to think about. And last but not least, we have a new big box coming out. And it's another chance for me to say, don't throw away that little piece of art that separates the book from the models. That little piece of art makes a great backdrop for when you're taking pictures of your models.
Sure does.
So, yeah, save those things. They're, not only are they usually kind of cool art, and they're nice about not putting stupid product information on the front or stupid logos all over the place, they usually try to make them kind of, a part of the experience. So,
yeah,
hell, sometimes you just want to put them on your wall. But they do make great backdrops for your photos. Just a thought. Are we done creating?
I think so.
We're going to move into battle, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I have no games of AoS. I didn't plan on any. I didn't really want to do any 2.0 games. I want to jump headfirst into 3.0. But because I was out sick and had a lot of free time on my hands, the wife and I ended up playing a bunch of different games.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And there's 3 that I want to highlight. Well, okay, I'm going to highlight 3 different games. One of them is Wingspan. I don't know if you ever heard of this game.
I haven't. What is it?
Okay, it's a Stonemaier game. So anything that's created by Stonemaier is over the top amazing. Inside of his boxes, he has all the storage solutions for everything. So you don't have to sit there and buy third-party stuff. But Wingspan is an engine builder. Basically, you have a little player board in front of you, and you're trying to put birds into your bird preserve, your aerie, if you will. The mechanics of actually doing that, you're basically building this engine that just gets you more and more points as the game goes on, and you're trying to build the best engine on the table. The draw of this game is there's like 170 bird cards, and birds are what it's all about. It's called Wingspan for a reason. Mm-hmm. It's all about the birds. The art is amazing.
Oh, yeah?
If you're one of those bird watching people, you would buy the game just to get the cards because the art is so good. But the engine builder is flipping amazing, and it is fun. It's limited to 4 rounds. Even the game that we played when we were learning took maybe an hour and a half, and then the next games that we've played after that have taken maybe around an hour each.
Oh, that's a really good game time.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly wife approved, and it's crazy good fun. It is way crazy fun. I did not think, because it's a bird game, I was not really interested in the theme. But it has been on the top of the different board game geek lists for so long. I was like, I got to try it. It's Jamie Stonemaier. I got to try it. He's the guy that did Scythe, and everything he touches is golden.
Yeah.
And it is. Wingspan is awesome. So if you need a game to play with the wife, and it has nothing to do with combat theme whatsoever, Wingspan is fun. I also picked up Beyond the Sun, which is an amazing, it's nothing but a tech tree. It's a building a tech tree kind of game and trying to basically get beyond the sun. And, oh, man, I'm not going to cover that game too hard because to even describe it would take the better part of the show. But it is a blast. If you like tech tree kind of things, like, you play Twilight Imperium, but you really like the tech part of it or something like that, this is a game to look at.
Oh, okay.
The last one I want to hit is a solo game, which, when the wife was at work for 8 hours and I was sitting around doing nothing because I was sick, Under Falling Skies is a solo game. You've seen the old Space Invaders game where arcade game where they just keep coming down and you have to shoot them. It's basically this in a board game format, except on steroids and with 10 times more fun.
Really?
It is amazing. I have won every game I've played. I have not lost yet. However, every game I have played came down to the very last, oh my God, I have to do this research. And if it doesn't work, I lose. If it works, I win. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so. And again, that game takes 30 minutes. It's a solo game.
Yeah.
So it takes, once you learn it, it takes 30 minutes to just run through the whole thing. So much fun, it hurts. Absolutely. Those are my three big. I would recommend those. If you need a solo game, Under Falling Skies is amazeballs. And if you do happen to be old enough to remember the old Space Invaders and have tossed a bunch of quarters at that, it'll have a little bit of those feels for you. You want to talk about Curse City?
Yeah. So updates on a Curse City game. Played another game last week. We're scheduled to play another one today. So last week, my wife couldn't make it. She gets migraines, so she just wanted to go home and sleep. But we had Castillo from the shop come on down.
Nice.
Eric, who's normally with us, was out of town. So our makeup that time, I was playing my wife's character as well as mine. So we had Yeltsin Darek. We had Amalda Braskov. Troy brought Cleona.
Yeah.
And then Castillo played Gladio.
Yeah.
And we did a hunt just to get Castillo back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
He hadn't played with us yet because he had been busy. So, we brought him on and decided to do the hunt, and it was really fun. So there were some just like absolutely heroic moments in that that I just couldn't even believe. Like at one part, Yeltsin got caught out, and a whole bunch of mobs spawned near him. And they all moved up, but they couldn't quite get to him.
Oh, nice.
Right? Because they didn't get the double move and attack.
Nice.
Right? So they were like one away from him. And I was like, oh, what do we do here? And Yeltsin was the last one to go. And so I had, all four of my dice. I had a 6 locked and loaded for judgment. And then we had 2 miracle dice. Right?
Nice.
In those 6 activations, he nuked 5 models of enemy models off the board.
Jeez.
Right? That dude's insane.
That's almost guaranteed inspiration, too.
Oh, he was inspired by that point already.
Shit. So now you're just banking rerolls.
Oh, yeah. No, it was crazy. It was just crazy. It's like his mechanic where if you hit something but you don't kill it, then you get to throw the stake at it. And then that only happened once, finished it off, right? Like I killed everything else because he was critting like a machine. One point, Gladio and Yeltsin were next to each other, and Hallgrim, the leader of the Ulfenwatch, spawns.
Oh God!
So he flopped on his spawn roll, right? Because it would have been the whole all of the Ulfenwatch move, right?
Everything,
there were no Ulfenwatch on the board.
Oh,
so he spawns. He does his move, doesn't get to attack, and then Gladio, who was inspired at that time, just shot his freaking head off. It was amazing. So when Gladio's inspired, his pistol just does flat 3 damage. Doesn't matter if it's crit or whatever. And he gets to shoot it twice.
Yep.
Right? So he shot the pistol twice and then did his gambit move. What is it called? Not gambit move. He has this ability where he makes a move and then attacks, and if he hits with his sword, it auto crits.
Yeah.
And so he just blasted Hallgrim off the board. Then there was another situation where Gorslav spawns.
Jesus.
Rushes Gladio, doesn't quite get to him. Then so I was playing Amalda. I had Amalda charge in and then just swing as much as she could on him. And she did 6 out of his, I think, 7 wounds. And then Gladio was able to finish him off before he even did anything.
Oh, wow.
And then we had a Virkos Thriceborn spawn right at the end of the game.
Of course.
And the closest model was Cleona. Charges Cleona. We're like, oh crap.
Oh no.
Right? Because those Virkos are nasty.
Yes, they are.
And it whiffs its attack.
Oh my Lord.
Then it's Cleona's activation, so she swings with her mace, and her ability, if she hits with her mace, she knocks him down.
Stuns him, yeah.
Yeah. So she misses the first one, and I'm like, God, Troy,
just don't do that again.
No, she was successful on her roll, but it dodged because the Virkos.
Oh yeah,
dodge,
they get
right?
the 10 or 9 up.
Yeah. And the second one, well, it wasn't so lucky. Got knocked to the ground. And then in that round next was Amalda's activation. So she just ran up and just skewered the thing. Just hit crits. And we're able to get off the board. Today we're supposed to do our first deliverance.
Oh, that is a beast. Oh my God.
Well, here's the compounding factor, Bill.
Oh no. You're starting at night.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh my God, you are so hosed.
Yep. We got shot down. We're starting a deliverance at night, and I just got to level 1.
Oh my God, that's exactly what happened to us. I mean, we didn't do a deliverance. We were doing a scavenge, I think. But yeah, it started, we got shot down and we had to get out of there. And oh my God, when they are inspired from the beginning, those monsters are beast. I mean, they just get so strong. Oh, good luck. We have our game tomorrow night. And I've missed 2 in a row now. I missed the first one because I was at work. We had a missile shot that night. And then the last one I missed, I was sick. I didn't want to get anybody else sick. I wanted to go, but I thought I was way too maybe contagious at the point to be that much of a jerk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm dying because I think everybody else made level 2 and I'm still going to be back at level 1.
Well, you'll double XP.
Yeah,
so
you double XP. So you catch up real quick. That doesn't bother me. It's just, oh man, I need to get back to it. I'm having withdrawals.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, I forgot to put this, in our agenda, but I was at the store yesterday, and the store is essentially open back up. People can go in, they can hobby. People can go in and play games. And I got to say, it was like it just breathed new life back into me, like the world is starting to heal. Because I was there building clan rats. Troy and Eric were there painting up the new models, and then someone actually played a game of AoS in the store. And so I got to watch it and kind of help coach them out a little bit since, it'd been so long. They were really rusty. It was Soulblight versus Cities of Sigmar.
Good match.
It was pretty interesting. I didn't get to see the whole thing. I was just there for the first round. There's this kid who only plays during the summer because then when he's in school, he's super busy. And I think he's going to college soon. But the other guy came in with this Soulblight. Looks great. He has a really, I think, good way of going about it where he says that I don't play models I haven't painted. Okay? Yeah. Because he's not necessarily looking to be like super competitive, right? He's like, I want to make sure that when I play my army, it looks good.
Yeah.
And so he, I think he was running Legion of Knights. So he had Manfred. Oh. He also fielded Radikar, the Beast.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He had, I think, 10 dire wolves to start. He summoned in 10 more. He had 20 zombies, 20 skeletons, 10 Graveguard, a Necromancer, a Vampire Lord.
Damn.
And 5 Blood Knights. And I haven't memorized all the Cities of Sigmar stuff, but he had General on Griffin.
Oh,
he had is it the Luminarch, the one that has the laser?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had that one is such a funny mod. I love that thing. He had 20 handgunners. He had 20 halberdiers. He had 5 of the outriders with the guns.
Oh, yeah.
He had the old general on mount, which isn't a mod.
Nice, yeah.
You don't get that anymore. It's on foot now, right? Free gold guard, and then he had like the 3 Griff riders or whatever they are.
Oh, yeah. Griff Chargers?
I think so. The tiny one. They come in packs of 3.
Yeah.
The Cities of Sigmar ones. Those ones are actually pretty beefy in combat.
Yeah.
It was good just seeing people like putting models on the board, rolling dice, getting things done. Manfred is exactly as Manfred is. And there's one thing I want to talk about, Manfred just preempting.
So good.
Preempting a 3.0 talk because the whole monster thing where you at the end of the charge phase you get to do the monster ability, right? Well, the thing with Manfred, as we know, is that at the beginning of the combat phase, if he doesn't want to be in combat, he leaves. Right? But he can also in combat has his command ability. Well, I didn't see it until yesterday because like the kid set up the general to charge Manfred, and it's like just so you know, man, Manfred teleports. Right? That's his. He doesn't want to fight unless he wants
the upper hand. Yeah.
But then I thought about it. I was like, wait, if you charge Manfred, so you've got priority. At the end of the charge phase, you get to activate your monstrous ability first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can make it so that way he can't issue command.
Oh, wow.
So you run up, roar Manfred, and then if he wants to, he'll still peace out, but he's not going to be able to drop his command ability.
Right.
So just a little tactical thing to talk about there.
Yeah.
It was just, it dawned on me when I saw like, oh my God, right? It's not completely useless to charge him.
Yeah, no, it's not a dumb thing. You can actually lock him down from using that awesome ability.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, more Tark of Knight's not a command ability. It's the other one that's the, plus to hit or something.
Yeah,
it does something like really good.
I thought it was +1 to attacks. Don't quote me. I don't
Yeah,
have it in front of me.
in my head, I always get him and Radicars mixed
Yeah.
up. Yeah, no, it was just so good seeing all that happening. The store being back and thriving. I was over the moon.
Yep. Oh, I hear you. It's kind of nice to be coming on the other end of this, coming out from the dark hole. All right, I tell you what, let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump into the big meat of the show, the AoS 3.0 stuff.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
This is where we hold them! This is where we fight! This is where they die!
Somewhat fitting approach to the AoS 3.0.
I think so. I think so.
So before we actually kick into this, a couple of overarching points I want to make real quick. One of that is, and this came from our Discord. I believe this was Matt that brought this up, and it's a new edition.
Mm-hmm.
Stay positive, stay kind of focused. There's going to be a lot of new things to absorb. A lot of things are going to change. A lot of the way armies are playing and the way armies are built are going to change. Don't let it get to you. I mean, just because the way you're doing it now isn't the way you're going to do it in a month doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
No.
It's going to be different, but not bad. So, yeah, just take it with a grain of salt. We'll all get through this together.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, it's a learning process, and we all sort of get comfortable in our ways, right? Where we're used to, I play my army this way,
Yeah.
And with what they've done in the rules, other than Slash, is that you're still able to play with your toys, but it's in a new, interesting, different, inventive way. So people would just hunker down into particular builds within their armies, right? And now it's like, all right, try something new, expand out, play with things a little bit more. Obviously with, the move and everything they're doing, we're in Gur.
Yeah.
It's about monsters now.
Yeah.
Right. Because before, frankly, monsters kind of were a detriment.
Yeah.
They always have a 5-up save, maybe a 4-up if you're lucky. If you're a hero, you have a 4 or a 3, but they just get nuked.
Yeah.
Right. But now they give monsters more things to do. Now monsters can receive solid command abilities with all out, attack, all out defense. You can hit Mystic Shield changing back. Huge, right?
Huge change.
It's just different. And so it is getting you out of your old ways.
Yes.
But letting you see a new side to your army. What I like about this is it's sort of like, you have your friends, you hang out all the time and stuff like that. But imagine you've been away from them for a long time, you come back and things are different.
Yeah.
This is what's happened in my life. This is where I'm at. So you actually get to re-experience your army,
yes,
and think in new and different ways. And in fact, that's one of the things that I always recommend to people is trying to do new things, or old tasks in a different way. And I do that in my own professional life. Whenever I'm stuck in a case, I've reviewed all the discovery, watching lapel videos, listening to witness interviews and all that. And I just don't see how they'll do X or they'll do Y or they'll do Z. And I just can't figure it out. I go do something that I normally do in a different way, right? That could be drive to work through a different means, right? I come down a different street.
Yeah.
I exit the freeway at a different point. And that actually sparks the creative part of your brain. Yeah. And so in this, embrace it, right? This is a way for you to figure out things you didn't see before.
Yeah, reread your battle tome, because some units that you discounted because they just they didn't do what you thought, they may do it quite a bit better now. Mm-hmm. And they may have things that are just completely amplified by this new edition. And, that could be what they intended, is to get some lesser used units back into the game, and think about it from that perspective. And, honestly, just take all of your AoS 2.0 lists and, hit the delete button on Azir. Just hit the delete button, go into your saved stuff on AoS reminders and delete it all. Rebuild it from the ground up, because this is a new game. It's, I said it before when we were talking about what we thought was coming with AoS 3.0, and I made the comment that The game's not broken. It needs to be tweaked here and there, and some things need to be baked into the rules as opposed to all these weird sources. And they were like, yeah, Bill, shut up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. We're releasing a new game here.
Yeah.
We are fundamentally changing. And here's something else. When you're reading through these rules, and you can download these rules. I downloaded it and printed it out.
Yeah, we got it right here.
Yeah. Complete with clam clips and read it carefully.
Mm-hmm.
There are points in there where they changed one word, and it's a major change to how this game is played. Case in point, Pile-In is now closest to the enemy unit, not model, unit, which means you can do a lot of sidestepping now. You can sidestep entire units. As long as you are still within the same distance, you can cover a lot more board. You can actually slide along and grab an objective, perhaps. There's the one word change makes an incredible impact to the game. So read these rules carefully. They've done an amazing job by numbering the rules and highlighting the keywords that are in the rules and calling out to, see section blah, 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 so that you can follow their train of thought. But yeah, read these things carefully. It's huge. So those are the overall. And the last caveat before we jump down into the nitty gritty of this is keep in mind that we're working off of what's out there, the core rules that are available for download on the community site. Plus, we've both had the opportunity to look at the store copy of the rule book and all that stuff, and we've poured through it a little bit, but we could get stuff wrong. And that day one fact drop is going to change a lot. And please be aware that come Friday or Saturday, or that might wait till Monday, facts are going to come out for every battle tome to bring them more in line with the 3.0 methodology. So don't just read these rules and go, oh my God, Army X is now unkillable. You can't touch them. Or like I was saying before, I'm concerned about what's going to happen with the Osiarchs because they don't have access to most of the changes in this book because it's command points. Just hold on. Don't think the world ended. Come by Monday, we will have more information on what it's going to really look like going forward.
Oh, certainly. And, again, before we get into the real nitty gritty on this, like another 20,000 foot view on everything. You talked about earlier about, being hobby champions, right? And part of that is, we love bringing people into this game. We love helping teach them. It's just so much fun that we just want to share it, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm looking at this new edition, how they restructured everything, not having like a maximum unit size, right? Because it's restricted by reinforcement points, right?
Yep.
We have situations where specifically at like lower point games where new people can get a start collecting box and have a meaningful game.
Yes.
Right. Whereas, I think so often people who've been in the hobby for so long are just sort of tunnel vision in the sense like I'm just looking at what my army does at 2,000 points. Right. Right. But what about the new kid who comes in, I assume most people want other people in the hobby too, more players, more fun, right?
A rising tide lifts all ships.
Right. And so then you get more out of just starting out, right? You get to have, your battle line units at min size. Sometimes you can even have a couple battle line units to expand out. I'm thinking like particularly like Iron Jaws, right? So with Iron Jaws, the start collecting is the War Chanter. It's the 10 Ardboys?
10 Ardboys.
And 3 Piggies.
Yep.
Right? So Ardboys, if I remember correctly from what I've seen online, I think they're 5-man min, right? So 5 men for Ardboys. And then Piggies are 3.
Yeah.
So there you go. You get a leader. You get the 2 Ardboys, MSUs, and you also get the Piggies. And so that's pretty significant, in terms of what you're able to actually put on the table. And with the points, going up on everything, then you're able to get closer to maybe a 600 point army, which you can then use, as you'll talk about a little bit later, Bill, in Path to Glory, right?
Yep.
Because I think it's like 500 or 600 is the minimum, right, when you're doing
Right.
Path to Glory. So I think it's the way it's built up is not only does it cause all of us, who've been playing it for a long time, and of course there are a lot of people who've been playing longer than I have, but to think differently about the armies that we have,
Yes.
right? But it also allows people to get into the game easier, I think.
It's going to lower the entry barrier quite a bit. And again, this is brought up on our Discord, and it can only be a good thing now that the min-max, like you said, we were talking just a little bit ago offline, the min-maxing is disincentivized.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's gone, because you're going to be able to, do some max units, but you're not going to be able to do the double cannon rock or something like that. That's out.
Yeah.
You'll be able to do a cannon rock. It's just not going to have that terribly swingy section or portion that it has now. So it actually it levels the playing field for a lot of armies and a lot of people.
Yeah.
I do believe, and this is a personal opinion, I think this edition is going to make it to where the really good army going up against the perceived mediocre army is going to have a much better game, all told, than in 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
In 2.0, you get a War Scroll battalion that makes your stuff one drop. You're on the table. You go first. You basically alpha strike the bad guy, and it's game over. And you can pretty much wrap it up at the end of turn 2.
Yep.
And I don't think we're going to see as much of that. This edition is, I think it's designed to increase the longevity of stuff while still having a lot of death.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are our opening kind of thoughts. There is just so much that has changed, so much that has been clarified. And, I've said it before, I've made allusions to it. Thank God. There's 40 pages of rules now?
Yeah.
No more of this. We're going to do it all on 2 pieces of paper. Yeah, we're so cool. Yeah, that did not work. Okay, this is a competitive game. Even in the narrative point of view, even in open play, you have to address the interactions. You have to address how your mechanics work. And having an arbitrary page limit was silly. I don't mind that there's 40 pages of rules now. I mean, look at the old Warhammer Fantasy Battles where there was 200 pages of rules. And if you didn't have a protractor to measure the exact flank angles, you couldn't. Yeah, no, get out of here with that crap. We have a game now that looks super tight. The rules, they baked all of these weird situations that used to only come up in FAQs or weird instances. Now it's all baked into the rules. The framework is there, the framework that they can now deviate from, for the individual War Scrolls, and they flat out say it in the rules that the War Scrolls take precedence unless it is specified in the core rules that nothing can abridge this.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of rules like that in there. So, but let's start hitting some of the big things. And I think the big thing that we should start with is the core battalions and the no more War Scroll battalions.
Yeah, so it's match play only. If you're playing narrative, you can still have access to your old battalions. I mean, I guess if you're going to want to be a try-hard in your narrative group, then you can bring some of those busted battalions from before. But the core battalions, we talked about leveling the playing field, right? The core battalions are what do that.
Yes.
And one thing that I absolutely love is that there is only the battle regiment that would make something a single drop.
Right.
Everything else still counts as other drops. And so you can fit into any one of these, but only one of them will make it so that you can drop and get priority.
And honestly, having priority nowadays, going first in turn 1 isn't always the greatest thing in the world. Because if you play well, going second is a serious advantage.
It really is. I mean, they did that equalization by throwing that extra command point at you, right? Getting the heroic action. Also, too, the battle tactic, you don't have to pick until the start of your hero phase.
That's right. Oh, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, so there's so much in here that is ripe for a strategic mind.
Yes.
So with the grand strategy, I'm probably jumping ahead here, but with like the grand stratagem, right? That is printed on your army list.
Yes, that is set by your list.
Exactly. So when your opponent gets the list, they'll see your grand stratagem, right? And so, well, again, a strategic mind can be like, well, I'm just baiting someone with this grand stratagem.
Yeah.
Right? Or I actually intend to do this grand stratagem. Or I intend to make my opponent think I'm baiting him with this grand stratagem just so I can obtain the grand stratagem. And then you also think about that with your battle tactics, right? So, turn one, I've been watching a lot of battle reports on 3.0 since it came out. So many people are like, battle tactics within 6 inches, right, of the middle of the board, right? 100% of the time, if you go first, that's the only one I've seen people do.
Yeah.
Except for once where someone ran all the way to the other side of the board and grabbed an objective because of the smaller board size and took that battle tactic. But there's so much strategy now in how you pick it. I just absolutely love this, right? There's so many feints you can do. I would say that going second is probably what most people want to do these days. Unless there is a way for you to alpha a super important unit, most people are going to be trying to go second. Well, OBR pending. We don't know what they're going to be doing, right? But getting the extra command points
is huge.
Massive. And part of the reason why I'm playing Skaven, there are abilities that allow you to steal command points from people. When you think about it, even if it's a command trait, on a 6-up, whenever your opponent gains a command point on the 6, you get it instead. Right? Their ability is to take 16% of your opponent's command points throughout the game. Massive. With the battalions, again, this is more about in the match play trying to determine priority. Kind of one of the funny things, we read in the core rulebook, how you determine priority, right? You take turns setting up your models, and then you roll off. If it's a tie, whoever set up first, that's the tiebreaker.
Yeah, finish setting up
first. And then you get to match play, and it's nope. Here's how it works. Whoever drops first, priority.
Yes.
Right?
That's just the way we've always played, or kind of, because it used to be just a +1 to the die roll. But interestingly, when you go to the match play section in the GHB, it says specifically, if you finish dropping first, you have the first turn. Not you may take, it's you have priority in the first turn. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, if your design, your build is predicated around going second to get that extra command point, taking that core battalion to get a 1-drop is a detriment rather than a bonus.
Yeah.
So you have all these things to think about on turn 0 that are going to have a major effect on your game and how you want to play it. And you have to think that through. And, a single test game will probably tell you whether or not you want to go with that battalion or not.
Yeah.
So, it's, to me, the biggest parts of the core battalions, and I think it was Ben that said this flat out, they wanted to cure the haves and have-nots. Mm-hmm. And there were so many, I believe that where the power creep happened in 2.0 was in the War Scroll battalions. And I will point to things like Petrifex Elite that had to get nerfed. And even the nerf wasn't enough to make it not an auto choose.
Yeah.
Because it was just so good. Mm-hmm. And then you flip around and you have the Gloomspite Gitz guy who goes, I've got this battalion that, it doesn't do anything. And obviously it was a case of haves and have-nots. Mm-hmm. Depending on who wrote the battle tome, Matt Ward. Sorry. That's old. Shouldn't do that, but I'm feeling old today. So with just the core battalions being in the book, now everybody's working off the same sheet of music. No one has a baked in advantage, and it's great. And I'm going to say this right now for my narrative event at LVO, it will be only core battalions. I am not allowing, even though it's a narrative event, I'm not allowing the old battalions to be in the game because most of them are either broken or they're completely ineffective.
Yep.
We don't need that. That does not make for a fun game. So
I couldn't agree more.
Huge, wonderful change in my estimation.
Talking about a big change as well. I really like the rules around coherency. Okay.
I think they're stupid. stupid. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
No, I really like this now because I hated this because it slowed the game down. When people had these massive units of small guys, like take skinks, grots, right?
Clan rats, you know.
Where they were able to, because you only had to be within an inch.
Plague monks, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Plague monks and clan rats.
Yeah.
They only had to be within an inch of a friendly model in order to be in coherency. Right. So you would have these people who would do like a flying V and just take up, so much space on the back of the board, trying to deny deep strike, trying to deny access to objectives, and it was really annoying in the sense that it just took so long, right? Like you could handle it eventually, right? But that person who's sitting there painstakingly measuring out every single inch, is it 25.4 millimeters or less, right? Just to make sure it's the inch all the way through. And by the time they finish setting up, you're like, man, we got like an hour left.
Yeah, to play the game now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like, well, let's see what we can do now. And there's one caveat we're going to talk about here, but like for those big units, 10 men, you have to be within 1 inch of 2 models. To a degree, I kind of played that way anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the guy. I didn't want to be the guy with the flying V of skinks who took 2 hours to set up the board and go from there.
Yep.
So now I really like this. I do. It makes the units tighter. It means they don't cover so much area. Board is smaller, right? And it punishes people, I think, in a fair way.
Yes.
If you mess that up.
Yeah.
I've seen any number of tactics. People are still trying to be like, how do I do the flying V? Well, if I tuck one model in, at the back end, and I've got sort of like these clumpings of 3 on the side. You can
have, the dumbbells and the eccentric dumbbells and, Yeah.
But then you pull one model and, half the unit's out of coherency now.
Yeah, and, be aware that there's some units out there that target individual models.
Yep.
And if you're strung out like in a dumbbell, which is basically a line of troops with a clump at either end, somebody could pull one from the middle and you lose half your unit.
Yep.
Or more.
Yeah.
So, coherent. The only knock that I have on coherency, and we were talking about this, is they base coherency on 5 or less and 6 or more. And honestly, I really think that number should have been 6 or less and 7 or more. Just add 1 to it, simply because so many units come in either 3s or 2s, which you can, bump up to max unit size of 6 or, what have you. It seems like 3 and 6 are such a prevalent number throughout Stormcast. Your Storm Fiends come in 3s. All kinds of units now are coming in 3s. And so you're basically penalized for reinforcing that unit.
Yeah.
With the coherency rules and their limited range of attack. So I think it should have been a 6, but they very well, I'm sure they play tested it and they probably looked at that and said, should we make allowances for those kind of units? And the answer was probably no, we shouldn't. Yeah. Because the units that come in 3 are usually pretty powerful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just think of Gorgruntas, right? Those things are terrors on the table.
Can I not?
Like, people would regularly take 6 Gorgruntas, and then when you have 6 Gorgruntas smash into you, right, you feel it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? That hurts. But now, they're not going to be able to stick all 6 piggies in.
Yeah, because they have to be adjacent to 2 models.
Yeah.
Or within 1 inch of 2 models. So that string of piggies coming down the line isn't going to work. 6 piggies. Anyway, and one thing I will say, good for you, GW, is in matched play, there's no minimum or understrength units.
Yeah.
So you're taking min unit size.
Yep.
Or multiples thereof. So, yeah, I think the coherency is a huge change, and it is going to change a lot of play styles.
It is. I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it. Some things will definitely not be affected as much. I mean, you were talking earlier about, like, what if I took 9 Storm Fiends and I want to spend, God, was it like 900 something points to do that and have them in 1 unit,
God.
Well, they have a lot of ranged, right? So, I mean, you probably just put your punchy guys up front and then your shooters in the back.
Shooties in the back, punchers up front.
Exactly.
So the Storm Gauntlets go up front. Everything else, the rattling cannons go in the back. Oh, God. No, I'm not. No, you're not doing that. Okay. Anyway.
And then interesting, what we've been seeing from the General's Handbook, right, online, is that it's all GUR,
Yes.
right? It's all GUR all the time. It seems like this is going to be for the foreseeable tournament future, unless, certain TOs, get together and they say, well, I'm not an official GW Warhammer GT, so we're going to take ourselves out of GUR. But the General's Handbook itself reads as if it's written just in GUR.
Well, and you pointed out to me that statement that said this is an annual thing. So at once I'm saying thank you, God, because I truly hated the Realmscape rules. We devoted an entire show to that book, The Forbidden Power, with all the myriad of, here's 6 artifacts, here's 6 spells, here's all this crap for each realm. It was the most amazingly boring. And then when it got to actual play, it was so convoluted, and with very few exceptions, the realms had very few things that really drew you to them, and yet there were some that were auto includes.
Yep.
There were some that were just like, no, you have to take this because it is markedly better than everything else.
Yeah.
And it just led to horrible setup. It was not well thought out. It was bad. Now, by going and concentrating on GUR, they not only get to flesh out what GUR looks like, but again, everyone has access to the exact same stuff. No one is at a marked advantage because they chose to be from Shyish. And so they just therefore have these amazing powers that are better than yours, and you lose. So I truly love the idea that they're going to flesh out each realm as the years go by, and that's what we play in. That's what we use. And next year they'll do the realm of, I don't know, Akshi or Gyran or something, and then we'll have 2 to choose from.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on from there, and it'll just be so nice because we will have that experience with all of the things from GUR, and no one has gotten a crazy advantage. I love it. Great change.
Totally agreed. Now, getting into the new stuff for like battle plans and things like that, things are getting switched up a bit.
Yeah, just a little.
We saw in the core rulebook at the store, there's 3 battle plans, I think, for match play.
Yeah.
Here's something really interesting, and I don't know how many tournaments are actually going to do this, but in those 3, and I think it even says it in the stuff in the GHB, though. I'm just kind of trying to remember what I saw online. You have an attacker and a defender.
Yep.
Right? The defender sets up the terrain. There is something really interesting in that. Again, another level of strategy.
Yes.
Right? Where how you set up the terrain could affect things. And it could be that you set up the terrain to make your opponent think they want this side of the board. So that way you get the side that you want, and then you set up. So again, another layer of strategy to it that I absolutely love. I imagine there's going to be quite a number of tournaments that don't actually follow that rule.
Yeah.
Because they're going to just want to have the tables already set up.
And that to me is the hardest thing, because you look at something at the size of Adepticon, Nova, LVO, these bigger tournaments, they can't be wasting that amount of time to reset terrain every game. Now, I mean, the 2 players can look at each other and go, we can knock this out in 5 minutes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, great. And I'm sure the TOs will come together and rule on that. But yeah, table setups are for, a 1-dayer, for, an 8 table, for hell, just you and your friend playing. Yeah, this is super easy, and it's so much better. It does add another, like you said, another layer. It's like the onion. We're peeling it back.
Yeah.
You can set up the terrain to be amazingly defensible.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other guy goes, yeah, you're right. And that's my side. Thanks. Yep. You lose. So you can make a huge mistake by thinking that, you have that call to make, and be careful how you set that stuff up, and be looking for where they're going to put their faction terrain. You may leave them an incredible opening. I can now put my Feculent Narmal right where I want it, and now everything's charging. Thank you.
But how great is it now that monsters can destroy Narwhals? You could set your Narwhal up on the table, and then this monster just, nope, that tree fell down.
When I saw the rule for Sevireth, where it said he could basically just look at terrain and go, no, delete. To me, I was like, that is overpowered. That is way too much. And it's going to make people hate playing Lumineth because of that ability to take my toy away. Now everybody does it. It's like, okay, that is kicking. And I mean, I don't know if they wrote it that way, knowing that, you know, this was coming up in 3.0, because you can kind of tell Lumineth were designed sort of with 3.0 in mind. To just put that rule out there to test the waters to see what the outcry was.
Yeah.
I thought that was a sneaky, underhanded, awesome play.
Well, it's interesting too when you think to Lumineth and giving Sevireth that ability. Lumineth does not have that many monsters.
No.
Right? They've got the cows and they've got Teclis.
Yeah, the cow. Yeah, that's it. The cow and Teclis.
So it was sort of looking forward because there are plenty of armies that have tons of monsters.
Yes.
Heck, one of the reasons why I'm getting to Skaven, like the Vermin Lords, oh my God, they're amazing, right?
Yeah.
Hero, monster, caster, like, oh, they're just doing everything,
They
right?
fill all the little squares.
Exactly. You know, and then Destruction's got monsters for days.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Sons of Behemoth is just a monster
monsters.
army, right? It's like they looked at it and said, oh yeah, these guys don't really have too much. Not everyone's doing the Alarith build.
Right.
Teclis, I think what his points now are like 740 or something like that. It's like,
yeah.
And so like, well, it's going to be, people are still going to put him in their armies. Cause
Sure.
I mean, yeah, you do the same with Alariel, even though she's, you know, the same price. They need something to be able to pop terrain.
They
Otherwise
needed to be in that game. Otherwise they were going to be on the back foot, or, you know, at least at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just wonderful, wonderful change there that everybody can break terrain.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just your terrain, it's all terrain.
Yeah.
So it's a huge bonus to armies like Beastclaw. And I think I was lamenting the last show of, I really like playing with the Beastclaw. The problem is with those big bases and the big monsters, they get locked into places that they can't get out of. Well, now that's not such a big deal.
No.
You know, they can bellow their way out of a bad place. And, you know, if that means blowing down a building or beating up your wildwood or getting out of a icky place, it's doable now. Again, the rule set designed to sort of even the playing field to where you're not out of the game because his abilities are just better and you can't counter them.
Yeah.
Now you can.
No, it's great. And within the battle plans too, we have the 40K thing, right? Where to score points, hold 1, hold 2, hold more. So simple, so easy.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
just to understand and enact in a game. It's not sometimes like I felt like in 2.0, some of the maps were just kind of weird, you know, in
Yes.
terms of how you scored points. But then, you know, no matter what, you can fall back on this.
Yes.
And of course, there's probably going to be something in the GHB where like it's only battle line or only a leader can cap or only a
Right.
monster maybe, right? Because
Yep.
it's in Gur. You know, you can still get some points because you'll be able to get one of those things there. Having the reinforcement issues, it's sort of forcing you to diversify your army.
Yes.
Right? And when you diversify your army, you're able to take a little bit of everything you might need for the battle plan.
Yep.
Right? Of course, you're going to have heroes. Everyone's going to be running monsters now. You're going to have your battle lines. Now, actually, you get to play with more toys than you were before because you were, you know, most people were in a narrow build.
Yeah.
You know?
Just think about the Fire Slayers. And, you know, I was thinking back to this where the Magma Droths were more, to me anyway, they were nice to haves rather than gotta haves. Now I think they fall right back into that. They can do some pretty amazing things.
Uh-huh.
They flip into this must take category. And there's a lot. I'm just using them as a example I pulled out of nowhere, but goes back to that original point of read your battle tome again. Pull it off the shelf. You're not going to play that same list that you played 2 weeks ago.
No.
You're going to have to start looking at how these battle plans. One thing I want to say about the new General's Handbook, and it's a spiral bound or kind of a wire bound book. And one of the cool things they did was on each one of the battle plan pages, you have one page that's the whole battle plan.
Mm-hmm.
On the next page, the map for the deployment is printed in landscape. So that means you can kind of fold the book open and have it at the end of the table And you can constantly be referring to that, where the objectives are, where everything else is. And then if you need to reread how do I win this thing? You can actually just pick it up and look at it and put it back. It's a really good design. I like it.
I like that too. I mean, think about how many battle tomes or books that you got in the past that would just completely benefit you by, stripping the binding and spiral binding it,
And
right?
yep.
I like that a lot too. It looks like if I remember correctly, it's smaller, easy to transport, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's what we need for these things. Is like, let's be real, like the core rule book, from what everyone's been saying, is like 60+% lore and everything, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be necessarily carrying that bad boy around everywhere.
No. My next first purchase is that whatever starter set it is that has the perfect bound paper rule book. Yeah. With just the rules, none of the lore. I was looking, it's one of the first things I do when I open the book is look to see how much lore is in there. And this is a core rule book. They have to put everything as if you didn't know anything about this game and this world. So everything kind of has to be in there. But it's a 300 some odd page book. The rules don't start till like page 250-ish or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's, there's the rules are not the focus of that core book. And it's a weighty tome. Again, General's Handbook, pick it up. It's got all the scenarios. The rules are in the back. Yeah, it's your one-stop shop for match play, which is probably why they call it the General's Handbook Match Play Guide thing. Okay, so anyway, let's move on. Pile-in.
God, pile-in, like we talked about earlier. That's such a huge change. Like,
one word.
Yep. From model to unit.
Oh, God.
And
thank you.
Again, this goes to that like nitpicky deployment style, right? Where everything's positioned just the right amount of space, between, or like you would double base a model so that way they couldn't slide anywhere. So you lock the unit in place, right? Well, guess what? I'm not going to walk away while you take 30 minutes to make sure that you position all these little witch elves just right to make sure I don't move anywhere. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I will slide around you.
Yes, it just does not matter. And again, equalizes the skill of the two players. There are players out there who make their money by knowing exactly how to pin units in combat. And honestly, nowadays, that's kind of over. Unless you physically surround them, that's not going to happen. And a guy who got himself into a bad situation will probably be able to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you.
And that reminds me of something. Sorry to slide back to coherency.
Go for it.
But like how the rules are written is that if you cannot end a movement in coherency, you can't move.
Right.
Movement, charge, anything.
Yeah.
If you could not possibly be in coherency when you finish the move, you cannot make
that move.
And I got to be honest, that's probably going to catch some people out.
Yes.
Because we're going to have situations more than likely where someone like looks at it and they're like, okay, and they measure it out and then they do their movement. And then, well, oh crap, I didn't realize I got choked out by terrain, so I'm not in coherency, but they didn't mark where they were before. And so you're going to have a rules violation. So I just say that as a cautionary tale. Everyone, make sure, 1, that you mark where you were, and 2, that you know how you're moving around terrain. It's not going to be so hard with 25 mil bases, but when you got, your
piggies and, big bases, it's going to be a thing.
Certainly will be.
It's, the Stormcast with their big bases and, all of that stuff. It's, going to be big. My Mornfang packs. Ooh, yeah. I'm going to have to be a lot more careful. A lot more. Especially now when you're looking at, if you bring a unit of 6, you can't just be screwing around.
Yeah. But Mornfangs at 4 is solid too.
Yes.
Because they come in 2s, right?
Yeah, they come in 2s.
Yeah. So packs of 4 is not bad. Death ball like it would be if it could do more, but yeah, I'm actually kind of digging the 4, assuming that they're still taking in 2s.
Mornfang packs are in groups of 2. Battle line if you have a Beast Claw Raider General. So a unit of 4 or, a reinforced unit. Yeah. That could do some serious damage.
Yeah. You could reinforce up to 6, but I remember correctly, their bravery is not the best, right?
No, yeah. I don't think I would want to do that. I think I would go with, again, I think this is going to be the age of multiple small units. MSU is going to be the thing to do here.
Yeah.
Because of the changes to bravery, there's an incentive to having big units because you can only do Inspiring Presence once.
Yeah.
Which, again, beautiful change. Now bravery bombs are going to be a thing. I mean, seriously, those armies that are fundamentally use bravery as a mechanic are going to matter again, because you can save one unit from battle shock, but not all of them, unless you're Skaven, of course. But we'll see how that works. Day one effect drop. I'm kidding. I hope they don't do that to you.
Vermilord Warps here no longer has the immunity to battle shock aura.
Oh, wow. Hurtful.
Yeah, take me at the knees on that one.
While we're on the topic of battle plans, I kind of want to go over we kind of did the grand strategy, covered that a little bit. And again, that's just a way for you to pick how to win, how to score points, irrespective of the scenario. If your army is good at doing a thing, you can double down on that thing.
Yep.
But there's also the, what's his names? The battle tactics.
Yeah.
And these you select every turn.
Yep.
And, okay, if you're playing 40K, think secondary objectives.
Yeah.
If you're playing AoS, think battle tactic. You pick it for that round. If you achieve it, it is part of the victory conditions for the scenario, because most of the scenarios are written to where you have to achieve this. If you do, you win.
Yeah.
If you're tied on that thing, whoever did the more battle tactics wins.
Yep.
So secondary objectives are now a thing.
Yep.
And they are cool.
Oh, yeah.
And again, like you said, you can use those to goad your opponent into doing something that you want them to do, but they don't necessarily want to do. And this goes back to that whole idea of, if you want to play well, have your opponent have to make decisions all the time, because some of them are going to be bad. Good players are probably going to make good decisions, and you don't get to win on that base. But if you present them with more decisions than they can possibly make and have them turn out good, hey, you're basically you have the initiative in the battle, not on the die roll, but you're forcing them to react to you, which, as Confucius said, is a good thing. So he didn't say it was a good thing. He said it was, something very prophetic and thesaurus-like. But, it's just one of those, I love the new battle plan methodology where you have these grand strategies that are baked into your army. You have objectives in the scenario, which are the most important thing. Don't ever think that they're not. I mean, I hear a lot of people that knock 40K because the secondaries can end up winning you the game as opposed to the primaries. Whereas in this one, they literally go back to they're the tiebreaker now. Yep. And they're fun. They give you something else to play with and to play for. And again, it goes back to that thing where if I'm getting stomped by a player who's much, much better than me, and I can set that internal moral victory, all right, I'm going to set this battle tactic and I'm going to do it. No matter what he says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to win this one round.
Yeah.
So just huge, great changes to how the scenarios are laid out. And I was really stunned that the book only had 3 scenarios in it.
Yeah, for a core rulebook. I mean, they're launching the GHB at the same time, so I know there's more in there. So I think that, one, it's a way for them to sell product. And 2, let's say you're a new player, right? Core rulebook. You get it with, your new, whatever the starter box is.
Yeah.
Better not to overwhelm you, right?
Right.
And then you play those 3 over and over again. Like, okay, I want to expand now. Hey, here's the GHB. Yep. Here's what's going to give you all them extras. I think it's smart.
It's a good idea. I was a little shocked that they didn't bake those into the core book, but that's okay. It does not bother me. Like you said, you're going to get the GHB, so you're going to have access to these scenarios. All right, so let's get off scenarios. Let's go to some of the, I put on our little thing here, I put Unleash Hell all by itself.
Oh, you wanted Overwatch in this game, didn't you, Bill?
I so wanted Overwatch, and we have it now.
It's so great. And it's not even, it's better than Overwatch, right? It's just better than Overwatch, because it's not like, all right, you get to shoot and it's all 6s, right? It's, you get to use your shooting attack, and it's only +1 to hit. Or sorry,
right.
minus one to hit. If you got those really good shooters, it ain't going to be a problem. Not to mention, you can couple it with all-out attack, right? Actually, wait, I don't think you can.
No,
because
you
you can only
can't,
benefit
'cause
from one
that's-
command ability.
Yeah.
Right?
One command ability.
Yeah. So you can only be affected by one command ability in a phase. And each command ability can only be used once per phase. So you can't all out attack 5 different units.
Right.
Right. And you can't stack all those buffs, which again, so that way you don't have like insane, expansion of what one particular unit can do.
Yeah.
I love that change too. So Unleash Hell has so many implications for, in particular, not just shooting attacks, but missile weapons that don't actually have a 2-hit roll.
Right.
Right.
Oh.
So again, talking about Skaven,
Yep.
right? They've got their warp fire throwers, warp fire projectors, like Thankful on Bone Ripper. Don't charge him. Don't charge a unit that's next to him. You will get blown off the board unless you're just a single giant model. So the implications of that are crazy. And of course, with the new Skaven Tide rules, there are going to be warp fire throwers hidden in clan rats all over the place, right? So, at your own peril,
Mm-hmm.
you can charge the Skaven.
Yep.
And it's really interesting too, because it's almost like the Taus for the greater good baked into one.
Yes.
So when if they charge like a unit that's adjacent to your shooting unit, they can shoot,
Mhm.
right? It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's one of those. Obviously, you can only unleash hell once
Mm-hmm.
per combat phase, but it's going to allow you to choose to protect some unit of wimpy archers or pistoliers or whoever it is that has a missile weapon to hopefully soften the blow of the charge. And yes, you're right. There's going to be some units out there that are nigh unchargeable now because of that rule. And who knows? It might get fact at some point, but I don't see that as being hellish, because in certain cases, Thankful and Bone Ripper, even thematically, it's how they work. It's how that goes down in the lore. And now it's representative.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, I'm down with it.
Also, too, like when I think about it as well, of course, they want to make the game more interactive. So you're doing more in every single phase of every single turn. But if you think about it, like if you're charging a bunch of archers, are they just going to stand there and be like, man, I wish I could have shot my bow?
I know.
Yeah.
It always used to drive me nuts. I'm sitting here just waiting while an entire wah of orc Ironjaws is brutes are just coming down this hill charging me, and I'm sitting there with my bow going, man, it's going to hurt when they hit.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm like, what the hell?
But if we survive, we can shoot them even though they're engaged in melee with us. Like, they can all Legolas, stab him in the eye and shoot. But
after they pounded us into oblivion. So huge, awesome, good change there. One change, because we just covered Soul Blight, and I play a lot of Death. One thing that's now baked into the basic rules is when you are returning models to a unit, and this has risen, this rule has been baked into a lot of the different erratas, but now it's in the core rule book. Basically, you have to return that model within coherency of a model that was not slain this turn.
Yep.
So you cannot make a line of slain units and go grab an objective because you lost 10 skeletons and you put 10 back and you just now went across the board with them. No. And it also means that if you got a unit, say skeletons or something, that was wiped down to everything but one man, one model, the most you're going to put back there is around 6 or 7 because of the way the mechanic works.
Yeah.
And that is going to hopefully even things out a little bit. No more of this getting 20 back and the brick just reappears.
And also, too, and I think this is particularly for like zombies, and I think it's going to be real interesting with pink horrors as well.
Yeah.
Is that you cannot go over your max. Like the number that you started with. Not saying that, because there's no max now, right? You reinforce units, right? So you could have pinks in 10, 20, 30. But when you deploy a unit of 10, that is the max of that unit.
That's
it
correct.
Cannot go above. It says it very clearly. You cannot add more models than it started with. So what happens when you've got 10-man pink, one explodes? Do you just get one blue?
Yes.
As
'Cause
written.
you can't
right.
go over 10.
Yeah.
So you would get the one blue and not the 2.
Yep.
Weird. Unless it's baked into the war scroll that it can exceed its starting size.
Yes.
which it may be baked into that. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see that it has like what the rule inviolate thing on there, like no matter what.
Yeah,
there's
no, that
nothing
one
that
doesn't
can-
call
yeah.
out that you can't
So-
abrogate it. So
And so maybe that's what they'll do to fix the pink horror scenario. And I hope that that's just what they do is they say, this unit can exceed its max unit size. Its starting size. If not like it can just exceed, because then what's going to happen is that they're going to, pop 3 pinks and then they're going to use rally to try and get pinks back on the board.
Yep.
And it creates the same problem that they're trying to avoid.
To solve, yeah.
Right. So I hope it's just if a pink horror dies, you can add 2 brimstone or 2 blues, even if it would take it over its starting unit. And so it would put it in a way that like, no, you can't restack them.
Yeah.
Right? You can't put that other pink back because it stops.
yeah,
it somehow.
it became
Right.
2 blues.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I hope it's been mitigated. And so next up, no more +1 to bravery for every 10 units or models.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's literally a Skaven rule
Yeah.
that they get +2 bravery for every 10 models.
I know. And that's on the War Scroll, is it not?
That's in their book. That is a rule in their book.
That should take precedence then, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think it said that was another rule inviolate, right?
No, they were very careful about where they put that. This rule cannot be amended by the War Scrolls.
Yeah.
And it's only in a couple of places that I saw, not prevalent at all. Yay on that, but it's also going to make those units that have that ability even more key.
Yeah.
And I believe clan rats are going to have that rule.
Yeah, unless your warp seer's alive, right? Or you can just point at someone and say you don't,
You don't do battle shock.
you don't do battle shock this turn. And one of the things, I remember the implications of this too. So you cannot benefit from a single command ability, right, more than once per phase. So if you've got a broadcast, like a bubble, then I would say the rules as written is that, let's say I've got something, everyone within a certain range gets +1 to hit.
Yeah.
I cannot target one of those units with all-out defense because they are benefiting from a command ability in that
already.
phase.
Yeah.
Yep. So you have to think very carefully, right, when you are using
When
those
you're
kinds.
thinking of piling up these different enhancements, let's go to miscasts.
Oh, God, I love this rule.
So miscasts only happen on a 2. So it's only snake eyes. Very rare. However, it's there. And if it happens, with the miscast rule, if you roll snake eyes on a casting roll, you not only take D3 mortal wounds, but you get to do no further casting attempts this turn. Now, for your average one-off, oh, look at me, I'm an Orc War Chanter, I can cast a spell. It probably, it may come up now and then, who knows. But when you're Nagash, and you're looking at casting 7 spells per turn, there's a greater possibility of losing the wall. And I'm like, it's going to happen, probably to me, where, Croak is out there and he's getting ready to just unleash lizard hell and boom, snake eyes, and it's like, well, that was a fun hero phase. Let's move on.
It's really funny on the comment section of Warhammer Weekly, not this last episode, but the one before it, someone actually mathed it out for Lord Croak. He has a 0.02% chance of killing himself when he tries to cast a spell.
I love it.
Because he could miscast, roll a 2 or a 3, and then spike his 3 dice at the end of the phase.
True.
And just die.
Wow.
So it's going to happen somewhere.
It will, and it will be talked about forever.
I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait. I also want to see Nagash just like lose his freaking lunch on the first cast of the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to wither. Whoops. Oh, damn it.
Right? Like I'm gonna do my arcane bolt machine gun and first cast, miscast. Yeah. Sorry, Lord of Death.
Yeah, it's you're out of this turn. Go away. Yes, thank God for miscasts, and I love it. I truly love it. So we're going to take a quick break because we've been at this for an hour and I need to save. We're going to grab some food and then we'll be coming back to talk about some more on the enhancements and how they've kind of baked that all into one big thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk just briefly about the narrative stuff because we're going to have a show devoted to the Path to Glory. But we'll just give a brief overview of what that looks like until we get the book in our hands. We really can't go too far into it. And then we'll talk about who's going to be the big bad. You know, what's going to be, what do we think is going to be coming up? So we'll be right back. All right, we've done some eating, not as much as last show, so we probably won't fall asleep.
Speak for yourself, Bill.
Okay. Well, now we're going to move on to a new set of rules that they term enhancements. And honestly, all they did was they put command traits, artifacts of power, spell lores, prayer scriptures, mount traits, triumphs. All of those are now lumped into the category of enhancements. Honestly, it's kind of a brilliant little master stroke because they can do a lot of overarching rules for enhancements and it applies to all of those things. And really, you pick them just like you used to after you've built your army, you put enhancements. However, you still can't give enhancements to unique units. So a named general still doesn't get the artifact of power. It's literally just a different way of saying what has always been the rule, but now it's baked into a section of the rules that's really awesome. And it goes back to you can never pick more than one command trait for your army, and command traits can only be given to a general that is a hero.
Yep.
Specifically getting around some of those loopholes that existed before where you could run around, go get your general killed, elect a different unit, and give it a command trait, and it led to some really weird interactions. That's completely gone. Now, obviously, that was an edge case thing. I don't think that happened, every third game. But it was one of those deals where conniving players could pull off some weird shenanigans. That's turned off. So
I don't like that. No, one thing about the enhancements section is that in some ways it's read kind of it's written strangely.
Yes.
Where like the first few times you read it, it seems almost to say certain things can't happen, right?
Yeah.
So when you have unique characters, right? Their enhancement and restriction, like they can't take enhancements.
Right.
But technically,
does that mean the Gash can't have spells?
Yeah, exactly. Technically, a spell lore is an enhancement. Yeah. But make sure you read not only the War Scroll to see if they get every single spell lore, or spell in the spell lore.
Yeah.
But on the right hand side, it states, this is one of the little columns, right? Taking a spell lore enhancement allows every wizard in the army to know one spell from a spell lore.
Right.
So guess what? It still works the same way. Artifacts of power, of course, they don't have the rule in Violet here.
Right.
In particular, when I think of like Sons of Behemoth, the Kraken Eater can take 2 artifacts because of his command trait. So he gets to pick a second one.
Right.
That's great.
And it's having the enhancements being a broad category allows you to put a lot of rules in here that you have spread across a few hundred war scrolls or in a whole bunch of different battle tomes. Now you don't have to. You can save that space, refer back to this, and then make the change that you want to make.
Yep.
For instance, in the sidebar under enhancements, it says if a rule forces you to give an enhancement to a unique unit, the unit cannot use it during the battle, and it has no effect.
Yeah.
So if you're forced to give an artifact to your named unique general, you have to give it to him, but it's a waste.
Yep.
It does nothing. So, again, goes around some of those really weird edge case scenarios that came up, every now and then. But it was prevalent enough that it had to be handled. It had to be generalized.
Yes. Yes.
And then in the enhancement section, it goes through and it gives you some universal command traits, some universal artifacts of power, which incidentally are freaking amazing. there's universal prayers, universal triumphs. So if you have a priest, and it was before the priest lores came out, and all he had was the keyword and nothing to allow him to cast something, now he gets a prayer.
I'm just obsessed with curse. I really am. As a prayer.
Yeah.
Answer value of 4, so 4+ on a single die, range of 9, target an enemy unit. And until your next hero phase, the unmodified hit roll for an attack that targets that unit is 6. The unit suffers 1 mortal wound in addition. Yeah. So all those clan rats who don't really do much, they spike some 6s after a Claw Lord gives them +1 attack.
Oh, boy.
Right? Oh, boy. Yeah, it's going to be a spicy meatball.
Here's what I'm thinking. Okay. I'm going back to the universal spell lore. So when you take the command trait to make somebody who's not a wizard into a wizard, and you give them levitate. So imagine now a flying Kragnos. And don't think I won't be doing it. I was just sitting there thinking to myself, okay, hang on a second. I can give one of the Frost Lords the spell ability, take levitate, put that on Kragnos, and all of a sudden the problem that he has with getting bogged down goes away. And he becomes a flying beat stick. And I'm just like, or, failing in that, you just give it to a Thundertusk. Or, I mean, there's just so many ways to work that. A flying tyrant?
It is a casting value of 8, though. So, I think that they had to do that, because if not, it would be too powerful.
Stupid powerful spell. There are some units in this game that should not fly. I'm looking at you, Gordrak. But anyway, there's some units that just should not get. The Kragnos is one that should not get to fly. But by God, I'm going to try.
The flaming weapon, so good.
Oh, my God.
Just imagine you take a mega boss on Maw Crusher. You toss him the Arcane Tome. You have him no flaming weapon.
Yep.
And he increases the damage of his weapon by 1. Holy crap. There are going to be so many funny combos. And incidentally, right, there's no clause that says a Khorne hero cannot take that artifact.
That's correct.
So you can have casting Khorne now.
Unless they come out and fact that. It's going to be amazing to watch. Yeah, a Bloodthirster that flies and has a flaming weapon. Okay, forget it. Forget it. It's
Here, take it a step further. All right. Bloodthirster, flaming weapon, chronomantic cogs.
Oh, my God. Can we just say no to this? Can we just say...
Oh, my God. I just imagine just like, boom, cogs out. I'm going to go ahead and slow down time. Boom, flaming weapon. Next turn, what does he do? Mystic shield, flaming weapon. Oh,
God.
God, it's going to be hilarious. Oh, I can't wait for it.
Oh, I can. No, my God. Maybe I'll bring Khorne to...
You could do the same thing with your Frost Lord, man.
Yes, I know. It's nuts. And the killer to me is these enhancements, these universal enhancements. They're very, very good. They're available to everyone.
Yep.
Nobody is now out of this game. And again, Ben Johnson said it. One of their things was to address the haves and have-nots. They have done that by baking this stuff into the basic rules. So again, as we wrap up our coverage, and we're going to move on to what we think, who are the big winners and losers. And one thing we haven't touched on is endless spells.
Oh, yeah.
Let's touch those before we go on. Endless spells, both biggest loser and biggest winner in this edition, I think.
Well, we completely lost Balewind from what...
Yeah, Balewind Vortex is gone.
It's just gone, right? So all that time you spent fashioning it for Croak. Well, he can't fit on it anymore anyway.
Well, he doesn't fit, and it was such a cool project. Oh, well. That's what they make trash cans for.
But it looks like there are sweeping changes. Essentially, they're all bound now, is how it's coming out.
Yes.
If you cast it, and it's within 30 inches of the caster, particularly the predatory spells, they still control it.
Yeah, they're the only ones that play with it.
But doesn't it also move in every hero phase?
Every hero phase, yes.
Yeah. So they're actually more impactful than they were before.
Yes.
Right?
They are.
I think back to, which one was it? Was it Be'lakor where we got the 4 other bound endless spells, right? It was kind of like, why? Why? I mean, I get it. We were still technically in 2.0, and COVID sort of messed up release schedules and all that stuff. But like, why?
Yeah, it seems like that was sort of I'm sure it came down to timing.
Yeah.
And just the fact that it was really hot on the heels of 3.0. I don't think that was something that was really inside their control, what with COVID and distribution. But it is, you could look at it as a nerf to Seraphon.
Yeah.
Because they used to pay an extra 10 points per spell to make it bound where only they could do it. Now that's the general rule. And that's okay, because to me, I never really thought about those bound endless spells all that much, especially the soul linked in OCR.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, though you can just take that out now. It's no big deal. And I do like that they're not going to be so random anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not drunken spell time where they just go bebopping across the board and doing crazy, crazy stuff. My Emerald Life Swarm is now a thing I'm truly in love with.
Oh, yeah.
Not only was that the first spell I painted up, so I kind of have a thing for it, but it's bonkers now.
It's good.
It's really good. Shackles are okay. You deny the ability, the enemy, the chance to run and or charge. Hello.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are going to be definitely at least experimenting with shackles right away, given how it can essentially just cut off a flank, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, denying run and charge to units within 6 with judicious placement, and you can really impact somebody's game plan hard.
Oh, could you just imagine someone, tries to outflank, and then you just drop the shackles right in front of them?
Yeah.
You're just like, sorry, you can't go anywhere now. Oh, that'd be so rough.
All of the endless spells, the Forbidden Power endless spells, were changed to more reflect this edition. Again, like we said, they stay under your control. They move every hero phase, so their utility has gone up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, so did the points.
Yep.
So, and in some cases, they didn't change the points at all and really upped their ability. So it's, definitely endless spells are worth a very new look. And as you're reviewing your battle tome, if you see a thing that you're just not good at and you need help in that area, look to the endless spells.
Yeah.
There's probably one there that will mitigate or completely rewrite your abilities in that area. So be careful with those. They're fun.
Yeah, I'm contemplating taking the Emerald Life Swarm behind the clan rats just to, because I mean they fold like, paper if you run into them.
Yeah.
But getting like what? I think they changed it to it's D3 upon casting, and then after it moves, it's D3. Right. So first turn is 2D3. Wounds healed or models returned.
Yeah.
For the clan rats. Like that just seems strong. You just constantly returning 1 to 3 models every hero phase.
Yes.
On top of rally.
Hero phase.
Right?
Like I said, there's things, if you're weak in an area, there's probably an endless spell that can help you buttress that up. Yeah. So we've waxed on a lot about different rules changes that we think are impactful. Let's move on to, I'll tell you what, because we're going long again, why don't we save the narrative stuff till next time?
I think that's a great idea, because next time we should actually have more information.
Have the book in hand and
be able to go through it in a more meaningful fashion, because well, we've seen, because we looked at the book at the store, right?
Yes.
Like Path to Glory is essentially Crusade.
Well, better. Way, in some respects, much, much better.
And we don't have that here now to go through the specifics. Next time what we'll do is we'll have updates,
sure.
FAQs, book in hand, all that stuff. Start hitting, additional thoughts, changes, that kind of thing. And then spend a good amount of time looking through Path to Glory together, book in hand.
Yes.
And I'm really excited for that. One, I love narrative. And two, at the store, Andrew's going to be running a narrative event starting a couple weeks after launch. Once we actually have those in hand, Bill and I will probably also talk about what we actually anticipate doing during that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be our lead up to New Orleans, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just as the broadest of overviews in the Path to Glory setup, huge things that are so much fun is you basically build an army list. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you have what's on that list in your collection at this point, You build a list, a 2,000 point list that you think would be fun. Then as you play different battles, there's going to be different point values. Now, your list could actually go up over the course of a Path to Glory to a large number of points, 3,000-4,000 points. But you're still going to pick from that overarching army list that you have. You're going to pick your battle list from that. So if we're starting something new with new players and they only have a start collecting box, like, in that 600-700 point range, I'm just going to pull from my list about 700 points and I'll be able to play a fair game with that new guy. And he's able to play a meaningful game that has impact. It allows him to help grow. And since he's also made a 2,000 point list, he now knows what to go by.
Yeah.
Because he now can update and change. They did great things with getting buildings into you basically start the game with a stronghold.
Yeah.
And it allows you to have certain things in your army. And then you can buff up that fortress or your stronghold as the game goes on. And you can make it more and more powerful. Yep. One of the things I think that's missing from this and will hopefully get added is the ability to attack someone's stronghold and knock it down a peg. But it's a great little framework for playing narrative games of differing point sizes, which is huge for, newer players. And also, and it's a path to glory. It's not, let's go get some glory. It's how do we get here? But along the way, you're going to beef up your heroes. You're going to beef up your units. They're going to get new abilities that aren't particularly on the War Scrolls. And, of course, just like Crusade, if we sit down for a game and the guy that I'm playing doesn't play Path to Glory, he doesn't care, I can still use that as part of my narrative. I don't have to be sitting in this league and only play Path to Glory games with this force. I can actually use that, although you can't use some of the enhancements and what have you, because that wouldn't be fair to the guy that's not playing.
True.
It's a great little framework. I think what's weird about this, just like Crusade, it is more defined by what's not there than what is there. And again, this is a framework. You're pretty much sure that they're going to do just like 40K. And they're going to come out with these Crusade or Path to Glory packs. They even talk about it right there in the rules.
Yeah.
That there will be periodic Path to Glory supplements that come out and enhance everything and show you how to do these things for the different factions. And it's, I am so looking forward to this, but we'll cover it in much, much greater detail in the next show.
Oh, for sure. And I think I like that they're actually going to be releasing these, meaningful packs for it.
Yes.
Compared to what it was before, where it's like 2 to 3 pages in your battle tome, and it just essentially says, if you start with this character, you get this, and you could never possibly get that hero ever again.
Right
now, this actually lets you.
Yes, and you can be super flexible, and the old Path to Glory was inherently unbalanced between battle tomes. Some battle tome, their original starting Path to Glory units were legions ahead of some of the other ones. For instance, the Night Haunt could guarantee a loss in every game they played at the start of a Path to Glory campaign. They just didn't have good choices.
Nope. But you look at Iron Jaws, right? And you can I think you could start with a mega boss on Maw Crusher and I think 3 pigs or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Something absurd. I think that was back when it was the Iron Jaws book. I think they changed it for Auric Warclans.
Yeah, Warclans changed it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Man. So
let's move on to where we're going.
Talking about who I think is going to be the big bad, at least in the first few months of 3.0. I think that Sons of Behemoth is coming out really strong out of the gate. The changes to them, everything's battle line. All the Mega Gargants are leaders as well. We're going to be in Gur,
yes,
which has benefits for being monsters.
Who knew?
They count as however many models, 20 to 30 for the Mega Gargants. They're hard to take down because they have so many wounds.
Very.
I think one of the battle plans we saw online, someone was showing, it was sort of like Battle for the Pass.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where you have the objective in your opponent's territory costs
Is 4.
Is 4
Yeah.
points, right? If the Kraken Eater kicks it, does that change it? Right?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of questions out if that's true, if it would actually change the point value of it.
Yeah.
Gee,
You could,
God.
yeah, on turn 1, you could pretty much guarantee that your opponent cannot win.
Yeah.
So,
Denied.
yeah.
Done.
Yeah. I'm kicking mine out, so it's never worth 4. And you just, I think the Giants are going to come into their own in this edition. And I always kind of wondered because I thought they played on the back foot in 2.0, and I never really considered them to be much of a thing.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, not only are they a thing, but they're a really big thing. No pun intended, but they have a lot of really interesting abilities and a lot of things they can twist around to become a large impact in the game. I'm sure AoS coach is probably pretty happy about that.
Yeah, probably over the moon right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think that Skaven are going to be good. That's why I'm putting them together and playing them. They have interactions in pretty much every phase.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of really fun tricks. And I mean, there's just so many ways to build them too that you're just not going to run out of options, right? There's probably like 1, maybe 2 like super competitive lists once everything shakes out. And again, I'm talking pre-fac, right?
Yeah.
That I think are going to hit really hard. Vermin Lords are just really strong in this edition.
Yeah.
Being 12 wound heroes, normally on a 4-up, they can Mystic Shield themselves. They have a bunch of great spells. There's a bunch of great artifacts. You could try and do the cunning bit. I'm going to try that out, see how that works, assuming cunning remains the same.
Sure.
They've got a lot of warp fire.
Yeah.
So
just a lot.
You could have sort of like roving Death Stars. I don't know if Thankful on Bone Ripper is really going to be viable as a strat, just because he costs a lot. He's over 400 points now or something.
Sure.
But it's going to be fun. Like, Skaven's always fun. You're flaming stuff. You're blowing shit up, Yeah. Like, it's just a good time, Think of Radshak's Doomcoven. Like, it was just, woohoo!
Yeah. It's nuts.
Seraphon looks like they got hit pretty hard in some regards. Like, the Salamanders, I think, are min 1, and they're not battle line.
Right.
So you can only have 2 Salamanders per unit now, is what it looks like.
Yeah, but that's, again, that's not that hellish of a change. I don't think it's that bad. I think overall their points increases hurt them, but they are still going to be quite playable.
Yeah, no. I mean, Croak's only 430 points. He'll win you games.
Yeah, by himself. He will either win you a game or cost you a game when he dies on the first turn because he hurt himself.
Yeah.
But again, for a model that powerful to be that inexpensive, there has to be a major downside.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm fine with that. He should have a big downside. I think, in my estimation, the big winner in this edition is Destruction. Followed closely, I think Chaos will see an overall increase in their ability to put up a good game.
I think Slaves especially
Yeah.
got a major boost, because Slaves always felt, particularly in 2.0, sort of like they're here and they've got some really strong things. Like Chaos Knights, amazing. We're like, what do I do with these chariots and things like that? But
how do I
now-
make this other stuff work? Groups of Marauders, just regular old Chaos Marauders, are going to get downright good. Especially if you work on buffing them up. And again, it's one of those, in this edition, you can buff them up to be really crazy for a turn with your command points and your abilities. But they're not going to be that way the whole game. They're not going to be just this constant murder wrecking ball. A couple of Bloodthirsters on the table are going to be amazing to see what they do with their ability to beat and charge and run and charge and kill and not stop killing until really they're done. And hopefully maybe in the FAQ, at least Khorne will get a change to their blood points.
Blood type.
So, but I think Destruction picked up the most. I think Chaos as a whole picked up quite a bit. I don't think really much changed for Order. I don't really see them as having had a big impact either way, because most of the Order factions they're all comers. They have that flexibility. Whereas, in Chaos, the lists you make are basically designed to do one thing and do it pretty darn well.
Yeah.
And so now they have that ability to, double down on that. But again, like I said, I think Destruction got the biggest boost because of the monsters and the just overall more punchiness of the game. They got good.
Yeah.
They got good.
I think Gloomspite suffered a bit. All the other ones, I think, are going to come stomping on in, particularly Suns. But I'm looking forward to see like Destruction really having a heyday. I mean, not that Iron Jaws weren't good in the past, and not that Big Wa has always had potential, right?
Right.
But they're going to be represented in a much more significant way. I still think that Marathi is criminally undercosted.
Yes.
660 points for what she does is absurd. But it's
guaranteed to do it for 4 turns.
Yeah.
So
she will not go down before the end of Battle Round 2.
Yeah.
Assuming you can actually do 3 wounds every phase.
Yes.
Right. And you're not just getting slaughtered off the board by bow snakes. So much of the landscape has changed, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what's in the facts and really just brainstorming from there, man. I think it's gonna be fun.
I look at this edition as it's giving more tools to more factions than they've ever had before, but everybody has them. So it's not tilting. Again, the rising tide lifts all ships. Everybody got better because of this edition. Mm-hmm. It's up to you, just like always, to make those combinations work, to make things work, but across the whole tableau of units within a battle tome. I think there's a lot more units now that you have to take a second look at and go, they were meh in 2.0. In 3, they've got a trick I can use.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. I think we're done. Chances are we may get together again next week. And when we have the book in hand and we have some facts, you think?
I think so. And we'll be doing it on the 4th of July. So,
oh, God, yes.
For us Americans.
Yay.
Right? Freedom of the new edition.
Yeah. I love it. So any closing thoughts?
No, I'm really excited. And again, we're just sort of in a weird gray area right now.
Yeah.
Where we don't have all the picture, right? We have rules. All the points have been brought out, online. We are just now waiting for the day 1 FAQs to really see who the winners and who the losers are. And until we see that, we're all going to be just speculating, just like everyone else is online. I'm looking forward to it. I'm an open book right now. I'm just ready to absorb the information and go for it.
Yep. And I'll say it again, as we said at the top, read the rules carefully. There's a lot of little changes. Don't think you just know how something works because you played 2.0. There's a lot of subtle changes here. Read them, know them, live them, and have a good time. Don't let it get you down. If your army doesn't do the thing that you thought was the coolest thing in the world and you don't want to play them anymore, give them a shot. They probably do things now that are even cooler than before.
Yeah, I definitely say when you're looking at your army now, if it doesn't feel like the same thing, you just need to turn your head a little bit because you're going to see, oh, there's something over to the left I didn't notice.
That's right.
Right? And you're going to fall in love with your army all over again.
Oh. All right. See you guys
later.
Stormcast are cool.
If you would like to get in touch with us, you can reach us at our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/rollingbadpodcast, all one word. Our Patreon page is at www.patreon.com/rollingbadpodcast, again, all one word. The Twitter account for the show is at rolling_bad. And our individual Twitters are, for me, at Bill Castello, BILLCASTELLO.
And you can reach me, Joshua Alt, on Twitter at Anoyoe, that's at ANOYOE. On Instagram, I can be found at Heretic Model. On Facebook, I can be found as Joshua Alt.
All of our guests on the show will have their contact information in that show's show notes. The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.